Listening Fanfiction presents Economics by Vathara, based on the anime series Magi from Netflix. Read for you by Sierra Fees. So, why are you here? Cohen leaned his bearded chin on his fist, amused. Come to beg more favors for Balbad as you tried for my sister? Or have you finally decided to accept that your kingdom is part of the Empire and come to join us? Funny how Cohen could put a twist on kingdom that got in bastard son, never the heir, who ran as far and fast as he could. It burned, and Alibaba wanted to fling those words back in the prince's face. He hadn't run, he'd been kidnapped! He never would have left Balbad of his own will. But he wouldn't, because Sinbad was right at the table listening intently, and the king of Sindria's decision, high-handed as it had been the right thing to do. If I hadn't run then, I couldn't save Balbad now. And not just Balbad. Neither. Alibaba hoped his voice didn't shake. The way his heart was fluttering, it was an effort just to lock his knees and stand. I came to tell you that you're going to free Balbad and destroy the Empire. Which had everyone's aghast attention, from Mu Alexia's blinking red eyes to Komei's silence, Koha's dropped jaw, and Hakaway's wide-eyed worry. Yeah, she likes Aladdin, and she thinks the Empire's the way to go. Does she even know what's happening to people in most of it? Didn't matter. What mattered was Cohen's level stare, smothering as it had been when he'd stomped Alibaba into the lava. One corner of the Ko's general's mouth turned up, dryly amused. You'd better get your lost prince to a healer, little Magi. I think he took one hit to the head too many. Aladdin was staring at him too, blue eyes full of worry, and one faint glimmer of hope. Alibaba smiled at him. Told you, if you have problems, we'll figure it out. Together. Cohen thinks he's got you pinned, Alibaba told the young Magi, deliberately ignoring the co-general's unamused stare and lifted brow. Because it doesn't matter that what the Co-Empire is doing is evil. Doesn't matter that they're spreading slavery and wiping out people's pasts, their cultures, and without those, everyone loses their hopes and dreams. It doesn't matter, because all Tharman might call another medium anytime, and you'd need them. You'd need every Jinn warrior you could get your hands on just to try to save the world. They think they've got you right where they want you. Trying not to show how much he missed the weight of his sword, Alibaba turned his gaze on Cohen, and then Komei. Because Cohen was the general, the contractor for 3 Jinn, the most powerful force in the Empire. But he kept his ear to the ground and listened in REM, and it was amazing the variety of travelers who'd come to watch people fight and die in the arenas. And how much they knew if you had the tenacity and patience to put it all together. Cohen was the power, but Komei was the planner. The one who'd come up with the Empire's strategy to demolish other kingdoms and burn out the last remnants of other cultures. The one organizing Cohen's efforts to unite the world in one bleak empire. Not to mention the brother currently in charge of Balbad. Komei is the one I have to beat. You think Aladdin doesn't have a choice, Alibaba went on. But he does, because we're friends. And I know the truth you won't look in the eye. You think you're using all Tharman to rule the world? They're using you. They're letting you have all the power you want to make war and heartbreak, everything that gives them more dark ruh. We'll unite the world in peace, Komei said calmly. Not that I expect you to understand. Oh, I get it, Alibaba shot back. I get exactly what you're trying to do. It won't work. The minute you think you've won, that you've destroyed everybody who could stop you, that's when they're going to destroy you. And then there'll be 100 mediums. There's no way we'll stop them all. Alibaba took a deep breath. And I know how they're going to do it. So, you free Balbad and destroy the Empire. Or I will. Aladdin let out a deep, shuddering sigh. You figured it out. There is a way. I should have figured it out before. Alibaba gave the young Magi a grin. I just wasn't thinking big enough. And Sinbad was not glancing at Jafar, meaning the ex-assassin had kept his word. He'd warned Sinbad something was up, but not exactly what. Had to run it past somebody, Alibaba thought. Aladdin doesn't know enough about trade, Morgiana doesn't know enough about the empire, and I didn't want to blindside Sinbad. At the same time, he needed Sinbad to still be surprised because, well, Alibaba had seen Cohen on and off the battlefield. If I'm going to crack a head that hard, I need a really big hammer. Even now, Cohen was looking at him the way he had on the battlefield against the Black Jinn, a nobody who dared to insult Koha by suggesting a prince of the Ko Empire needed help. You think you can threaten the Empire? That wasn't a threat, Alibaba said plainly. That was a promise. Cohen's eyes narrowed. You've got 3 days to think it over, Alibaba went on. Tell me yes, let Baba go, and I'll tell you how to disarm the trap Altharman set for you. You'll lose your empire, but you'll save your people. Tell me no, and I'll start disarming it for you. You'll still lose your empire, and it'll be a lot uglier. He paused, because here was the bait. Decide to break the truce, or let those Altharman guys you think you're using do it for you? He gestured at the dungeon conquerors around the table. And you go down anyway, because now everybody here knows it can be done. They might not know how, not yet, but they know they can. Give Sinbad a week, a month, tops. He'll figure it out. I bet he would too, even if Jafar didn't slip him the hint. Cohen's gaze cut through Aladdin. Magi, are you going to? Am I going to what? Aladdin cut him off, stepping to Alibaba's side. You're hurting people. You saw in the medium. You know what Altharman's doing. The medium was pulling in Il-Ilah to destroy the world. We needed your help, and you used that just to get what you wanted. His hands were white-knuckled on Muhammad's wand. If Alibaba says Altharman's going to use the Ko-Empire to create more mediums, I believe him. I have to stop them. You know our strengths. Gome's voice was quiet, almost careless. Whatever Altharman has planned, they are many. You're just one lone dungeon conqueror without even as much Magoi as Kogyoku. Oh, way to insult your own sister. Not to mention, in case you missed it, I was fighting those bastards long before you ever showed up. But Alibaba kept a hold on his temper and just looked levelly back. Yeah, I'm just one guy. I really think that ought to scare you more than it does. He shrugged. Doesn't matter if you believe me or not. I do know your strength, Prince of Ko. I know about your armies, your magicians, your jinn. And none of it's going to make a difference. Because none of that's your real strength. He'd had a lot of time to think after he'd burned out his rage in Sindria. Thinking about how he'd lost his home and his city. Thinking about why he'd lost. He'd followed Jafar across Sinbad's palace and through their libraries for weeks until the ex-assassin had halfway been tempted to cross out the X part, searching for every detail Sindria had on just what had gone so horribly wrong in Balbad. He hadn't put together all of the answer, not then, but after spending time with Hakuryu and then in Rim, pulling together every detail he could from anyone who dealt with the Empire. It's the Fawn. The Fawn is the key to everything. The Ko-Empire's strength wasn't their armies. It was the fact that they could use their army to force other nations to use the Fawn instead of gold and silver cash. And then their bankers destroyed kingdoms long before Ko ships showed up in the harbors. And I'll just bet Altharman set them up the same way. Altharman was the bankers, after all, the Ko princes. They were imperial princes, trained warriors, not merchants. What did they have to do with trade? That was for lesser-born subjects. Like the nobles of Balbad. Nobles who'd barely kept an army or a navy because Balbad lived and died by trade. Only Ahmad and Safmad had been as bad at merchant wiles as Alibaba had been at polite politics. And Rashid hadn't been able to convince them to listen to their youngest brother. He hadn't had time. Don't think about it. The strength of the empire was the Fawn. And the Fawn was just paper. All Altharman has to do is wait for the empire to get powerful and then Boof! Destroy the fun, or duplicate it and watch things spiral into riots and chaos as inflation tore cities apart. Or heck, why not both? Here and there and everywhere. Chaos, despair, all the black roux they could ever want. So the Co-Empire had armies? So what? Who had to attack an army if you could wipe out how they were paid, equipped, transported, fed? Animal fodder costs money. Draft animals cost money. Cavalry mounts cost money. Ships, uniforms, weapons, everything down to fishing line. Everything depends on the fawn. And oh, what a coincidence. Amon was a fire djinn. Kome was still staring at him, one eye hidden behind his bangs. A sleepy, deceptive stare like a sand ermine blinking from a rolled-up rug. Oh, how cute and cuddly I am before I rip your face off. Think about it, Alibaba said quietly. Like you said, I'm one guy. There's no way I can take on your armies, your household members, your djinns. Everything you think is going to let you beat Altharman the moment they decide they can turn on you? That's your problem. Altharman can beat you without ever lifting a sword. Oh boy. He could feel the taut attention in the room, singing from a dozen trained wills. He'd bet Aladdin saw the roof swirling like a hurricane. And he finally had Cohen's attention. I've seen enough death, Alibaba said to that dangerous scarlet gaze. I've seen too many people die for revenge. You think I want the Empire brought down because of what you did to Balbad? You're wrong. I am going to stop you, because if I don't, Altharman's going to kill all of us. Keep it together. Breathe. I don't want anyone else to die, Alibaba said quietly. If you figure it out, and I know you can figure it out if you just think. You can stop Altharman right in their tracks. You can save your people, but you've got to start soon. You've got to move fast, and you're going to have one hell of a mess to fix. Because the Empire is fragile, Cohen Ren. It looks strong and hard as a wall of ivory, but all it is an eggshell. One crack and it's done. He raised one brow, cool and practiced, as he'd learned under his old court tutors years ago. I learned a lot from how you took Balbad. Did you? He pulled together his nerves and his best manners. Gentlemen, ladies, I won't take up any more of your time. He glanced at Aladdin. Want to find more and get into some trouble? Aladdin smiled, and Alibaba knew everything was going to work out because that smile was relief and trust and all the hope in the world. I believe in you. He grabbed Aladdin's hand and they ran for it. It was an interesting silence left in Alibaba's wake, Jafar reflected. Assembled kings and warriors were shifting and trying not to obviously glance at each other as Cohen and Sinbad stared each other down. You can't possibly take him seriously. The last time I didn't take Alibaba seriously, he managed to dethrone the royalty, bag your sister down without even drawing a weapon, and rebuild half of Balbad before you got there, Sinbad reflected. The timing on that fleet of yours, you should have sent them at least a few weeks later. Then it might not have been glaringly obvious you never meant to give Balbad a chance to pay back their debts. He shifted in his chair and glanced at Jafar. Well? The ex-assassin allowed himself a small, thin smile. Alibaba might not have realized it, but he'd come to exactly the right person to hear his plan. Both as a merchant and as a former assassin. The fawn is like arsenic, Jafar thought. Small amounts make a horse fat and glossy, but raise the dosage abruptly or withdraw completely, and the victim dies. I'd take him very seriously, Jafar stated. You took a gift horse from Altharman. You should have checked its teeth. Sinbad wasn't quite grinning. Years of kingship had made him a bit too sly for that, but his eyes were dancing. You're going to kick yourself later, Jafar thought wryly. I should kick us both. We were merchants before we ran a country, and merchants should have figured this out a long, long time ago. Rashid would have seen it in a heartbeat if he'd been alive. Think Solomon. Alibaba takes after him more than those idiot brothers of his do. Too bad for Rashid, his wife had raised those boys to be nobles and nothing else, like the Wrens had been raised. Lesser nobles, perhaps, before their uncle's death and their father's ascension as emperor, but nobles nonetheless. Which was why they hadn't seen the fawn was a gift drenched in poison. Co-nobles didn't deal with anything as common as money, much less trade. Altharman did that for them. And it took a very special sort of merchant to look past the allure of short-term profits and the Co-Empire's glittering spears to what was good for his company, his country, in decades to come. Rashid would have managed it. Rashid is dead. I doubt that's an accident. Once Sinbad realized the bones of Ali Baba's plan, he'd know it was no accident as well. And then things might become difficult for the Wrens. Well, more difficult, Jafar thought, firmly sitting on the temptation to give a puffed-up prince a truly evil smile. Ali Baba is going to put them through pure hell. Oh, he believed Ali Baba when the young Jinn warrior said he'd seen enough death, that he didn't want revenge, but what the young man was going to do to the Empire in the process of destroying the Fan would probably be more revenge than Rashid could have ever asked for. If he does it, Jafar reminded himself firmly. He did offer them the chance to fix it themselves. Which made the assassin want to cackle as evilly as Yamraiha unleashing a new spell, and that must have glittered in his eyes. Gowan was tense, Gomez expressionless, and Sinbad wide-eyed with wary amusement. Ali Baba can't keep a secret, Mu Alexis mused. I never knew he had a metal vessel until he stood between me and Aladdin. He raised an intrigued scarlet brow. This sounds like an interesting one. But he did give the Empire 3 days, Sinbad said easily. It'd be shameful not to give one side the time they need to live up to their half of the bargain. Jafar deliberately did not hold his breath. That was Sin dancing on the razor edge again, deliberately drawing the co-prince's ire on himself and away from Ali Baba, though not away from Balbad. No, definitely not. Not with every king here reminded by Balbad's example how the Co-Empire only held to bargains they found convenient. But Sinbad had done what he could for Balbad a year ago. Now he had to take care of his alliance, his kingdom, and his household. Even if he hadn't quite talked Ali Baba into joining Sindria's alliance. Yet. For now, Balbad was part of the Empire. The Co would either destroy it further or not. For now. Solomon but Jafar hoped Sinbad did talk Ali Baba into staying. He hadn't seen Sinbad this eager for adventure, this much himself, in far too long. And part of that was the sizzle in the air as every pair of eyes tried to size up just what exactly they'd missed facing down the Co-Empire's unstoppable juggernaut. The silent sound of a dozen daggers ready to plunge into an unprotected heart. Jafar smirked to himself. And they have only themselves to blame. They have no allies, only conquered subjects stripped of any strength that would threaten the Empire's iron grip. Slaves in all but name. Because they can keep nothing the code choose to take away. Which was Altharman's second dose of poison. The Co family believed they needed no allies in their quest to conquer the world, and they planned to conquer all of it. So they had no friends here at all. Even the Shamlash kept their promises. When they promised to kill you, they did their best to do it. Jafar let his gaze drift over the assembled Wrens as if he were already measuring them for the pyres. It was possible, barely possible, they'd see the threat Ali Baba had identified and move to thwart Altharman themselves, which would put them in the fight of their lives. The real trick will be holding back our allies so none of them fall into any of Altharman's traps themselves, Jafar thought. It's going to be all too tempting to take advantage of the chaos, but Sin can hold them back. If we can make it clear that mundane armies are a passing threat, Altharman's desire to destroy the world is eternal. This is going to be interesting. Cohen leaned back against their suite's main door, heart racing. He wasn't sure how he'd gotten them out of that conference with face and dignity intact. Sinbad had not been pushing, which had made it easier. The Syndrian idiot doesn't have to push. Jafar already knows what Alibaba's planning. We're in trouble, Komei said quietly. You noticed, Cohen growled. He'd been on too many battlefields to count. He could feel the walls of the trap closing in around him, ready to wipe out himself and his troops in one fell swoop, and he couldn't even see it! What the hell? The solution of it? We don't! I don't understand, Kogyoku protested, glancing between Koha and Hakuei as if they might suddenly make more sense than her older brothers. We're strong. Alibaba, he's nice and alone. How could he think he could destroy us? And why would Aladdin help him? Hakuei rested a gentle hand on her half-sister's shoulder. He helped me bring the Koga tribe peacefully into the empire. He doesn't want a war. Why would he stand with Alibaba when he says he's going to start one? Koha frowned fierce as if he saw another black djinn approaching his people. He didn't say he'd start a war. He said he'd destroy the empire. Kogyoku scowled. It's the same thing! Koha blinked, then shook his head. No, it's not. You would think so, Koha muttered, and wanted to bite his imprudent tongue. Solomon had to be tired. Koha's troops might be the outcasts and rabble of the empire, but he made them a viable fighting force. The whole empire could be like that. In time. He's right, though, Komei reflected. Alibaba doesn't have the resources to start a war. A war might happen if he disrupts the empire, but he wouldn't start it. And the difference is, Hakuei said, almost patient. The difference between taking Magnoshita by force and assassinating its royalty, Komei replied, bangs hiding his face in shadow. Think about it. One of the strongest heads of the Shamlash ever thinks whatever the Balbat Prince has in mind is not just possible, but entertaining. What? Cohen asked, stepping away from the door to meet his quieter brother eye to eye. What is possible? What weakness do we have that I don't know about? If it doesn't involve weapons, yet it can destroy the empire, then I see two possibilities, Komei said at last. The first option would almost have to be something that interferes with our logistics. I just don't see how that's possible. Nor do I. Their supply lines were always one of the first things on Cohen's mind. Maintaining the wagon trains, the navy, the roads, so goods and fawn flowed where the army needed them. That was Komei's responsibility, yes, but no general would ever dare take his own eye off it. The second. Rashid Saluja died of illness, Komei said coldly, like our father. Now that was a truly terrifying thought. Kogyoku bailed. Alibaba wouldn't! Never underestimate a cornered rat, little sister. Cohen snorted. It'd amuse that little assassin, wouldn't it? Brother, you're not even making sense. Koha glanced between them as if he were considering finding them a bunch of bandits to go kill until they felt better. He knows you have finesse. You could stop even a plague in its tracks with enough warning. The slight prince shrugged. Besides, he said this was a trap all firemen set for the empire. Disease would be a problem for everyone. Aladdin would never let that happen. Komei looked at him askance. You think the little Magi has any say in what a desperate exiled prince might do? You do, Hakuei said calmly. Or you wouldn't have tried to get leverage over them both, brother. She folded her hands in her sleeves. I've seen desperate people. Alibaba's not desperate. He's determined. So what will we do? Stall, Cohen said bluntly. And think. The next 3 days became very, very interesting. The other nations obtained an extensive education in 2 areas. First, the Jafar had very good reasons to be amused at them all. Because despite being a Magi, a blonde middle vessel user, and a finalist, Alibaba and his household could and would slip out from under any watching eyes, magical or mundane. Second, the co-princes were surprisingly good at research, and invective, and bluffing. Day 4 came and went. Then day 5. By the end of the week, various nations' representatives finally realized Sinbad, or maybe his generals, no one was quite sure, had been up to his eyeballs in misdirecting anyone looking for the trio the Yambala gladiator Alibaba had associated with and the terrifying giant ape. They're gone! A week after that, the code treasuries start going up in smoke. End of Economics by Vathara. If you enjoyed this recording or the content, feel free to leave a comment below or a review of the original story from the link in the descriptions. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe for more content.